What is the meaning of GDP?
Gross domestic product.
Gross domestic product. What is that?
It is the measure of services manufactured or created within a country within a specific span of time.
Yeah. Usually it is the sum total of all the products and services value created during a year within the geographical boundary of a country. So if a foreigner is working in India and he's getting a salary, that will be added. But if an Indian is working abroad, he's getting a salary there, that won't be added in the GDP. So it's basically the national, you can say indirectly it is the national income of the country. Okay. So $1 billion is how much in rupees? Yes. $1 billion in rupees will be how much?
Around 8,600 lakh rupees. 8,600 lakh crore. No.
About 8,600 crores.
Sorry,
1 billion,
crore.
Yeah, 8,650 crores. Yeah, right now.
8,650 crores or 8,600 crores, somewhere in that range. And what is the GDP of India now?
The GDP of India right now is around 3.57 trillion.
3.57 trillion. That is equal to how much? 3570 billion, right? 3.57 trillion will be 3570 billion, right?
Yeah.
So that will be how much in crores? 3570 into 8650 crore rupees. That is how much? We are just doing this calculation so that you're clear, and if required, you can do that also. So 3570 into 8650 crores. That comes to 308.81 lakh crores. So just try to let that figure sink in. We are talking of India's GDP at 308 lakh crores. So 1 lakh crore will have how many zeros? One lakh crore has how many zeros?
12.
12 zeros. 5 per lakh and 7 per crore. So it's 308 followed by 12 zeros approximately. So now 308, let's say 308 into 10 to the power 5 into 10 to the power 7, right? Rupees. Right?
Yes.
Divided by what is the population of India? 140 to 10 to the power 9.
Yeah, 114 10 power 9.
Billion, 1000 million, right? So 10 to the power 9. So how much does it come per capita? If I calculate 308 lakh crores is 308 into 10 to the power 12 divided by the population
2.3 into 10 power 3.
308 000 divided by 140. Something wrong somewhere.
2.3 into 10 power 3. I think somewhere around that.
308 lakh divided by 140 into the power 9. 308 000 divided by 140. It's coming less actually. Have we done all the calculations correctly?
2.2.
2.2 what? It will be 2,20,000. I think there's some 10 error here or there. Huh?
Crores.
570 into 8653.
2.2 into 10 power 5. Yeah, it's 2.2 lakhs.
2.2 lakhs. Right.
Yeah.
That is the average per capita income, we can say, of India.
Yeah.
2.2 lakhs. Right.
Yeah.
So family of 4, what is the per capita income? Per household income, if we take a family of 4,
8.8 lakhs. 9 lakhs.
9 lakhs. Are the figures sinking in? So 2.2 lakh per head, right? Into 4, so that comes to 9 lakh per family. So why are we still poor? Why is 9 lakh per family a small amount? India is
There's unequal distribution of the resources.
huh?
Not everyone has 9 lakhs rupees. Not every family has 9 lakh rupees in their account because there is unequal distribution. There is a higher section of the society and a lower section of the society, and the major wealth distribution goes to the higher section of the society, which doesn't even comprise 1% of the entire population, and a very small chunk goes to the lower section of the society.
So income inequality is there, right?
Yeah.
Now let's look at some other parameters. Cash reserve ratio. Have you heard of cash reserve ratio being discussed?
Yeah.
What is cash reserve ratio? Anybody? I think Karan.
It's basically the minimum amount of fiat currency a bank should hold at all times to make sure that the liquidity demand is fulfilled.
Yeah.
And
the bank basically gets money in the form of savings accounts and deposits, right? The public.
Yeah.
So the total deposits of the bank comprise of savings money in the savings account and money in the fixed deposits, mostly, right? Out of that, the cash reserve ratio, which is I think 4% now, has to be kept with RBI, and the bank don't get any interest on that. Out of every 100 rupees that you deposit in a bank, 4 rupees the bank will deposit with RBI to maintain the liquidity, so that if everybody wants to withdraw the money, they can. Right? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So what does the bank do with the money you give it?
It invests in various schemes or bonds or whatever it wants to invest in, or it also gives it out as loans to other people. And
it out as loans or investment, loans in the form of home loan, two-wheeler
car
loan,
loan, education loan, and so on.
and so on. These are the retail side, and on the corporate side, the project loans. Right. So if somebody gave you 1,000 rupees and you invested the whole money somewhere, tomorrow he wants it back, you can't give it, right?
Yeah.
That is why the cash reserve ratio is required, that this amount is with RBI. So we are assuming that at any point of time, 4% people will want their money back, or 4% of the money deposited with me will be required to be given back. So I am ready with that. Like keep it with RBI so that there is a sort of basket where all the banks are giving 4% to RBI. And we can practically assume that not everybody from all the banks will want their 4% money back. So RBI has that leeway to give us if required. You may not have heard about it, but many years ago there was a run on ICICI Bank. Everybody thought that ICICI Bank was going to collapse, so everybody started withdrawing money from ICICI. So that time, this CRR ratio comes in handy. Then RBI can give money to ICICI, and they can pay off whoever wants their money. And what is SLR? What is SLR?
It is the percentage of deposits that the bank has to keep themselves as liquid assets, such as cash and gold.
Yeah, this is this is statutory liquidity ratio. Statutory liquidity ratio means that amount of money has to be again kept by the bank, like Karan said, in gold or gold bonds or in bonds of some approved institutions like RBI and State Bank of India. So suppose the SLR is 20%. Suppose we presume that I don't know the exact figure, you can check it. Suppose the SLR is 20%. It means out of every 100 rupees that somebody deposits in a bank, 20 rupees will be in SLR asset. Out of those 20 rupees, 4 rupees will be cash in RBI. So 16 rupees will be in other liquid assets where the bank will get some return. These are usually highly liquid assets like gold or gold bonds or bonds of some approved institutions, which are RBI, SBI, and maybe some other approved institutions. This is also to preserve the liquidity. This is an extra liquidity provision. Okay. Now, can you quickly check what is the total amount of deposits with Indian banks today? Can you just check it? What is the total amount of deposits with Indian banks as of today, or maybe 1 month back?
Somewhere around 2500 billion as of September 2024.
2500 billion is how much in rupee terms? This is dollar or rupee?
This is in dollar.
25
So in rupee,
so in rupee terms is how much? 2500 into 8650, right? That is 2.16 lakh crores, right?
yeah,
So let's say 2 lakh crores. So again, how much does it come to per capita? 2 lakh crores divided by 140 billion. We are 140 billion, right? Yeah,
yeah,
10 to the power 9.
140 crores.
That comes to how much? 140 crores, right? So that's 10
Yeah,
to the
10 to the power 7, 140 into 10 power 7,
so 2 lakh divided by 100.
1.140.
Again, there is some error. How much is it coming per head?
1500, somewhere around that.
I think it should be 1.5 lakh.
140 crore to
Yes. The figure that you quoted, is it correct? I've posted some figures in the group today. Can you check with that? For bank deposit.
it's coming around 1500 only, sir.
No, then there is some error on this folder. GDP part is okay, 3.57 trillion. Banking sector, 224 lakh crore. Between November, this Indian Bank increased, reaching 225 lakh crore. So 225, just give me a minute. Just a minute, please. Two 25 lakh crores divided by 140 crores. How much is it?
225 lakh crores.
225 lakh crore divided by 140 crores.
1 lakh, somewhere around 1,60,000.
Yeah, divided by 140. 1,60,000. So this is again 1,60,000 is what? Average deposit of a person, right?
Yeah,
Average deposit of a person in bank in India. So again, for a family, it will be 6,40,000, right?
yeah.
So again, if we go by this average also, then we cannot say exactly that India is poor, but again, because of income disparity, we get that picture, right? Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now let's get to highways, or let's go to the group, please. I've posted some data there. Yeah, market cap of stock market. What's the market cap of the Indian stock market today? Can you check that?
3.9 trillion.
3.9 trillion dollar.
Dollars. Yeah.
So that will be around same as the GDP, little more or less, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 308 lakh crores, right?
Yeah.
Market cap of Indian stock market, and what does it mean?
It's
What is market?
basically the value of all the listed companies,
Value of,
listed shares of companies within Nifty 50 and Sensex.
not only that, all the companies that are listed. It will be not only Nifty and Sensex, it will be all the companies that are listed on the stock market. What is their market value as on date? As per the
All the companies listed in India, right?
in
Like,
India.
I don't exactly understand how.
Means
It
what
will be in. Will it be in India or like?
in India, in India. We're talking of in India only.
Okay.
So some market cap is like the overall value of the company is listed, or just the amount that they've listed as share in the share market?
No. See, a company has shares, right?
Hmm.
Suppose you have Reliance shares,
Huh.
okay, and
Hmm.
each Reliance share is say 100 rupees,
Huh.
and there are 100 shares.
Hmm.
So the value of Reliance will be 10,000 rupees. Means the market is valuing that Reliance company today is worth 10,000 rupees.
अच्छा,
whole-
it's not like the total turnover of the company वैसा नहीं, just share market में जितना है उतना.
No. Turnover is something else. Turnover is your sales per year.
Okay.
Turnover of a company means how much of sales that company is making in a particular year. But
So
when we
when you
get capitalization,
hmm.
market capitalization means, see, if you want to buy a Reliance share today, okay,
Huh.
so let's say the price is 1100 rupees.
Hmm.
And if there are 100 shares of Reliance which are there in total,
Hmm. Hmm.
1100 into 100 is how much?
No. 11 with
1,10,000.
huh.
That means the valuation, that means the value of Reliance company, if it was sold in the share market, theoretically will be 1,10,000.
Okay, so when you say shares, it is not necessarily the share that it has issued. It's like the whole company in the form of shares. ऐसा करके क्या कुछ?
Yeah.
See, it's like this. Suppose you are running, suppose for example, I am running a tutorial, okay,
Hmm.
and I, like you have seen on Shark Tank and all, right?
Huh.
So somebody is running a company and they say that we want 1 crore rupees
Hmm.
for 1% share of a company.
Huh.
That means what? That they are valuing their company, that if I were to make a similar company today, it will be it costing me 100 crore rupees.
Understood.
So that's the value of the company. that if I sell the company today, how much should I get? So I'm selling 1% of the company for 1 crore. So the whole
Hmm.
company is 100 crores.
So market cap is basically the valuation of all the companies listed, total valuation.
Market cap is company wise usually. Market capitalization of a company is X, another company Y, another company Z. You add up all the companies that are listed, then X plus Y plus Z and all, then it becomes market cap of the Indian stock market.
Okay, understood. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next, come down to mineral deposits. You will still have some doubts, we can resolve those. Let's say coal, they are saying that India's geological coal resources are estimated at 378 billion tons. 378 into 10 to the power 9 into 10 cube kg, right? 378 into billion, that is 10 to the power 9 into tons, so that's into 10 to the power 3. Just check what is the price of 1 ton of coal, an average price kind of thing for 1 ton of coal. Yes, anybody?
Around 400 bucks.
400 for a ton.
Yeah.
So 378 into 10 to the power
No,
9.
wait.
Mm,
There's a lot of prices listed here.
depends on the type, but around between 4,000 to 12,000 per ton.
4,000 per ton is 4 rupees per kg, right?
Yeah.
So let's take it at, let's say 6 rupees on an average.
Yeah.
So if we take 378 into 10 to the power 9 tons into how much? 6,000 per ton, right?
Yes.
So just do calculation, 378 into 10 to the power 9 tons into 6,000 per ton divided by 10 to the power
2300.
2300,
Into 10 per 12.
378 into this into 6,000. It is coming to 2226 at 2268, yeah, 2300 lakh crores. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
2268 lakh crores. Now just compare the figure. We were talking of a GDP of 308 lakh crores, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
300 lakh crores, 308 lakh crores gave us 2.2 lakh per head. Here we are talking of 2268 lakh crores. So that's 7 times almost, right? So per capita will be how much? 2.2 into 7. 15.4 lakh, right?
Yes.
What is that 15.4 lakh?
Per capita.
Per capita reserves of coal, right?
Yeah.
That is just one of the items listed. So if you add iron ore, if you add bauxite, if you add manganese, gold, etc., 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 the wealth of the country, if it were divided equally among everyone, so each person would be worth a few crore rupees, right?
Yeah.
Is that clear? That part is clear, I hope.
Yes, sir.
So what we are trying to say here is that if we look at natural resources and if it were not being exploited by let's say the politicians, bureaucrats, and all, or the industrialists, then everybody could be probably rich. But that's not how the way things work, right?
Yes.
So that is why there is this Naxal movement and all these kind of movements are there. Some part of it is because of this. There is unequal distribution of wealth, there is exploitation of resources. The industries are getting licenses at very cheap rates, where politicians, bureaucrats, they get corruption money, so their incomes run into thousands of crores and stuff like that. Right? These figures are also basically we are discussing all this so that you understand that how small we are aiming at if you really look at the vastness and the richness of our country. Okay, now let's look at the hospital. Highway infrastructure. National highway. What's the length? What's the length of national highway?
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, I actually had a doubt with the previous thing. Um, if like the coal reserves are adding so much, like just the coal reserves add so much value, and if all of them come together would bring up the valuation for each person in crores or something, then why is the GDP per capita only like around 2 lakhs or something of that sort?
So that is the reserve. It will take maybe 100 years to dig it up.
Acha, okay.
It's not your income. It's like you have gold in your safe at home or in the bank.
Okay, okay.
So
Understood. Then.
it's the wealth. It's not an income. GDP is an income.
So if it's circulating in the market, then it would be counted as GDP.
Circulated, then only the value add is counted as GDP. Value add
Okay.
meaning, for example, like you said, no, your father imports the salt, right?
Huh.
So suppose he imports the salt at 100 rupees,
Hmm.
or let's say he buys in India to make it less complicated. He might
Hmm.
he buys the bulk salt at say 100 rupees per kg,
Hmm. Hmm.
and he processes it, and he can sell that at 120 rupees per kg.
Okay.
So 100 rupees, what he paid is already added in the income, national income.
And then that 10 rupees additional is what is the value added?
Value at 20 rupees. So the total GDP would be 120.
Okay, understood.
Okay. So here we are saying that national highways are 144,000 kilometers. 144,634 kilometers. Just see what's the cost of making a national highway per kilometer. Can you just take that 1 kilometer length of national highway? How much does it cost to make? Yeah.
Somewhere
Just
around
14.
25 to 30 crores per kilometer.
5 per kilometer. 144,634. 144,634 into 25. That comes to 36 lakh crores. So 36 lakh crores is the cost of national highway. Then look for state highways, which is 186,000 kilometers. The cost of making 1 kilometer of state highway.
Somewhere around 10 crores per kilometer.
So into 10 makes it 18 65,000, right? 18 lakh 65,000, 36 and 80, 54 lakh crores is the value of only the national and state highways.
Roadways.
Roadways, only national and state highways. We are not even considering city roads or anything like that. Okay. So again, if you go by the per capita thing, then you'll get an idea of how much money is invested on each person. Right? Now, can somebody just check what is the total amount of thermal electricity generated in India?
Uh, 1,324 billion units. 324 billion units.
Billion
Yeah.
is 10 to the power. Multiplied by 6 crores as the capital cost of each unit. Sorry, that is for megawatt. This is megawatt or unit is what? Can you check that?
Gigawatts.
हाँ इतना gigawatt?
Yeah.
फिर से बोलो.
It's for gigawatts.
1,324
Billion
Billion.
units.
billion gigawatt.
Yeah.
I'm seeing installed capacity of 2,43,000 megawatts.
Like 43,000 megawatt. Multiplied by 8 crores. That is the capacity. That is the capital cost. Let's say of per megawatt. So how much it comes to? 2,43,000 into 8. 19.44 lakh crores.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what 19.44 lakh crores is the amount invested in only thermal energy generation in India. See, the idea of giving you all these figures is again, like I said, to get a perspective. So we are talking of 19.44 lakh crores here. What's the turnover of a big company in India like ITC? Any idea? Just take a guess or just check it. What is the turnover of ITC or Hindustan Unilever or Patanjali?
Somewhere around 60 billion in 2023 for IBM.
For IBM, 60
Yeah.
billion. That will be 48 4 zeros. That is 4 point. That is like 4.8 lakh crores only. ये फिगर तो ठीक नहीं लग रहा मेरे को। एक बार आईटीसी का चेक करो या हिंदुस्तान लीवर का इंडिया में।
ITC is around 70,000 crores. Gross
70,000 is the turnover, right?
Yeah.
Profit of IT, sales of ITC 70,000 crores. तो profit कितना होगा?
Profit है around 20,000. 20.5.
इतना तो नहीं होगा।
मतलब 20,500 crores.
नहीं, इतना नहीं होगा। 10,000 होगा, 10-12,000 जो भी है। So we are talking of only thermal electricity का total infrastructure cost as 50,000 crores, and ITC is such a big company, its turnover is 70,000 crores. Okay, if you look at India's GDP, it is 308 lakh crores. What is the GST collection per month on, let's say, on a rough basis? in India, GST collection per month?
Somewhere around 2.2 lakh crores.
No, no. 2 नहीं 1.5 ठीक ही है. Yeah, around 1.5 lakh crores अभी हो रहा है. So 70,000 crores is what, half of 1.5 lakh crores, right?
Hmm.
तो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट का जो जीएसटी कलेक्शन है, जो कि प्योर प्रॉपर्टी एक तरह से, वो एक महीने का जो उसका प्योर प्रॉफिट कलेक्शन है जीएसटी में, वो एक साल का टर्नओवर आईटीसी जैसी कंपनी का है, उससे डबल है. तो कैन यू imagine what is the power that the government wields in terms of money itself? And now compare that to what kind of salaries we are going to work for in a year. 20 lakh, 30 lakh, isn't it? Okay. So if they ask you for any kind of comparisons or any data on these things, these will be helpful to you. That's why we are discussing this. Now let's go to what are the amenities we have, like hospitals. What is the number of beds in hospitals? Total number of hospitals is not that important. Hospital beds, see there, 16 lakh hospital beds are there, right? That's only 1.4 beds per 1,000 people. Okay. Look at how many ICU beds we have. Just check that out, search it on the net. How many ICU beds we have?
1.3 to 1.4 lakh, 4 lakh beds,
1.3
including ventilators.
3 lakh.
1.3 lakh to 1.4 lakh.
1.3 lakh again divided by 140 crores into 1,000 crores. कितना आता है? 1.3 lakh divided by 140 crores into
1 bed per 1,000 people.
1 bed आएगा कैसे आएगा? 16 लाख में आता
1
है
bed भी नहीं, 0.1 bed.
0.1 per 1,000 ICU बेड. तो ये हम लोग का हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का हालत है. ठीक है. तो इस तरह अच्छा few more things like how many cars are produced in India in a year? 4-wheeler, passenger and commercial 4-wheeler. Check it.
$5 million passenger vehicles.
50 lakh.
50 lakhs.
50 lakh cars. You compare this to if you go 30 years back, 35 years back, when all these new companies were not there, I think they were hardly producing 75,000 cars in a year. We only had Ambassador, Premier, Padmini and Fiat. So approximately 25,000 each. And in Hindustan Motors, where my father worked, they were producing 25,000 cars in a year with 25,000 workers. That means one worker was producing one car in a year. Just check once what is the number of cars produced per worker for Maruti today.
Number of
cars per year produced per worker in Maruti.
I think 50 cars per employee, because the number of employees data is very
50.
randomized.
And 30
Yeah.
years ago, 30 years ago in Hindustan Motors, one car was being produced by one person in India. That's the kind of productivity problem that we live with. On whatever we have been discussing today, do you have any questions or queries? So if you haven't been able to write down these figures, you can just go over the recording later and just jot down these figures. It will come in handy sometime or the other. Okay.
Sir, are we expected to know all of these figures, or is this just for like an estimation?
You are not expected to know these figures, but sometimes they ask you some analytical questions. Okay.
Okay.
So say, for example, let us go one step further here. Each one of you try to guess the number of vehicles, four-wheeler, private cars in India as on date. Make your own assumptions and give me some figures and tell me what you are assuming that based on. Yeah. Take 1 or 2 minutes, make some assumptions, and then tell me what is the number of four-wheelers on the roads in India today.
So should we include things like taxis, Ubers, like are public vehicles included or only private vehicles?
You can include public vehicles.
Okay.
Do it without any searches. Yes, anybody? Would anybody like to take a guess and tell me how you arrived at that figure? Take a guess. There's no harm in trying. See, they are not looking at
Somewhere around 2 crore cars.
somewhere around 2 crore. And how has it come to that
So I
figure?
did a very basic guesstimate.
Hmm.
First of all, we have 140 crore people in India, and
Hmm.
I divided them into families of four. I just took
Hmm.
an estimate that there's four people per family, which gave us 35 crores families.
Okay.
Now I divided these 35 crore families into income disparities, say 20% higher income brackets, 40% middle income brackets, and 40% lower income brackets.
Hmm.
India being a developing country, I assume that the people in the lower sections of the society must just be using two-wheelers or other modes of transport, public modes of transport, and would not be able to afford a car. And hence, only the middle sections and the top sections would be able to afford a car. And I'm assuming them to be 60% of the society. And and I hence took 60% of the 35 crore families, which helped me arrive at 20 crores.
20 crores, not 2 crores,
Yeah,
right?
so not 2 crores, 20 crores, my bad, of cars.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
Sir, I arrived at around 10 crores.
Louder?
Sorry, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, I arrived at 10 crores, but I sort of initially factored out people below 25. Like, I remember reading somewhere that around 50 crore of the population is below 25. So, for the purpose of calculation, I assume that it's very rare that someone below that age bracket in our country owns their own car. So I kind of excluded that. And then in the 90 crores, I uh like since I'd already excluded children, I considered like it to be a family of two only. And I assumed that 20% of these people would be able to buy cars, which is 18 crores. And I assumed it to be a family of two because I've excluded the people below 25 already. Then I divided it by two, which brought me to 9 crores. And then I added 10% of that to be cars like Olas, Ubers, and all. So that gave me another zero point 0.9 crores. So I ended up at 9.9, approximately 10 crores.
Okay. Anybody else?
So I did something similar to what Ayush did. I got like on a rough estimate of like 15 crores or something. So what I did was basically I took a family of four. So out of 140 into 10 raised to 9, then I took 25% because one car per family, so it's a subset. And then after that, I assumed that less than 50% would be able to afford a car. So I took a ballpark figure of 30%. And from there, I came to 15 crores.
Okay. Ayushi and Vidhi? Karan?
No, sir, not. I have not arrived at Nashville.
Vidhi and Ayushi?
So it's somewhere under 10 crores, and my estimate's lower than most of these guys, around 3 4 crores. Similarly, like family of four, but I've taken like the lower class of the people don't have vehicles. I don't have exact calculations, but my estimate would be around 3 4 crores, not more than that.
That means 10% of the eligible population. 10%
Yeah.
of the all families. Yeah.
Mm.
The actual figure showing there is 7 crores. Okay. And I'm not better at guesstimating than any of you. But like Ayush had given a figure of 50 lakhs cars are being produced in an year, right?
Yeah,
So I had assumed that 15 years is the lifespan of a car. So 50 into 15, that would be 715 lakhs or 7.5 crores.
Mhm.
Is quite near to the figure. But if I were given, if I didn't have that 50 lakh figure, then I would have proceeded the way you all did. But probably I would have reduced the percentage of car owners compared to what all you said. Like 20 crores is little too high. 10 crores is still acceptable. It's near by around 50% more. So that is still acceptable.
Uh,
Okay.
but I have one doubt here.
Mm.
Um, you said number of cars produced, so that would be like a supply side of things, like, and then we go on to estimating. In this case, if we want to know the number of cars on the road, shouldn't
yeah,
we
sir. We have
go
to.
through the demand side approach of things?
Yeah,
No, the assumption is what is being produced is being sold.
But can we
but
assume that if we want to know the number of cars in the road, I mean, it's not 100% of it is not being sold. I mean, it's a big assumption then.
No,
And
what
apart from that, say there are 10 cars being sold in the country, there'll be already 10 cars which has been sold in previous year, for example, which will be running on the road. So
that
I
calculation
believe,
is 50 lakhs in a year and 15 years is the life of a car. So 15 to 15. At any point of time, you'll have 750 lakh or 7.5 crores. Got
no,
the point?
15 to 15 plus, yeah, 15 to 15.
That
The
covers what?
amount of cars on road also is increasing per year, right? So we don't factor
Yeah,
that in as well.
But that's
this is
would
a
be
very
the rolling average, right?
in 15 years it would be in 15 years, like 15 years ago, the number of cars produced would not be 50 lakh. It would be much lesser, right? That's what you're trying to say,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if you assume that cars have doubled in the last 15 years, then you can take an average of say 35 lakhs maybe in the 15 years. But then I took the life of a car at 15 years, but in India that is not true, na?
Mm.
Cars are on the road for much more than that lifespan. So again, you have a factor there, multiplication factor there also.
By the way, so there's 35 crore cars in India as per 2022 running.
35 crores,
Yeah.
it was 7 crores. As of August 3rd, 22, India had over 7 crore registered four-wheeler and above category.
Oh, this is including two-wheelers as well. My bad.
हाँ, इतना होगा तो सही नहीं रहेगा करने को.
वही मेरे को भी नहीं समझा सर कि 35 crore cars, how is that even possible?
35 crore cars होगा तो एक
No place for people to live. People will be living in cars.
मतलब एक मिडिल क्लास आदमी के पास 3 गाड़ियां होंगी सर, तभी पॉसिबल है ना.
Hmm.
Anyway, see, these are like I said, they are not looking for exact answers from you, but they're looking at how you are thinking. Okay. What is your rationality behind anything? Because in consulting, especially, all this is required. Sorry, what was your question, Vidhi? Vidhi, what was you saying? Acha, you talked about that all the cars are not sold, right?
Yeah. I was thinking more on the lines of from calculating from the supply side instead of the demand side. And the point that you mentioned about the 15 years, uska bhi I was thinking, like, I think in some places, like some states and all, you can't keep the car for more than 5 years or something because of the pollution and all of that. And then if you take an average, matlab, there must be other cars which are running for longer.
Correct.
So
As far as I know, commercial vehicles have to go for a fitness test every 5 years.
hmm.
Your private cars have to go for a fitness test every 15 years.
Oh, okay.
Now they're trying to scrap all cars at 15 years.
Okay.
The thing that you are talking of, that see, it balances out when you look at the suppose 31st, you have done these type of questions for your cat. Suppose 31st December 23 you have an inventory, right?
Yeah.
Then you produce more cars in 24. So you are left with some little more inventory at the end of 2024, right?
Yeah.
So what inventory you had initially and what inventory you have at the end of the year more or less matches, or there might be a slight difference in that, right?
Yeah.
So basically what you are producing is being sold, no? Five plus 100 minus 10 is what is being sold, right? 5 was my opening inventory, 100 is my production, and 10 is my closing inventory. So I've sold 95, right?
Yeah.
तो 100 बनाया और 95 बिक गया ना 100 में से.
हाँ मतलब ऐसे ईयर ऑन ईयर देखने से या वी कैन अज्यूम दैट.
तो बैलेंस आउट हो जाएगा.
हाँ ओके.
What else? There is one more thing which is confusing for most people, and it is confusing because nobody knows how these calculations are done. How is this dollar, why is it going up? Why is the dollar rate going up compared to rupee? What is the reason for the dollar going up as compared to rupee?
So one thing I read was because Trump was coming in and then he said that he's going to impose a lot of tariffs on the imports. That's why a lot of people assumed that dollar rates would go up, which is why they bought a lot of dollars, which is why the rate ultimately did go up.
See, that could be one of the reasons. Whenever you look at two currencies,
Supply
try to
demand.
supply demand. Try to think of them as two fruits. Let's say apples and oranges. Okay. So one country is producing only apples and the other country is producing only oranges. And there is sort of an equal demand for both in both the countries. Then what happens?
Sir, can you repeat the question? I lost you.
I said that suppose one country is producing only apples and another country is producing only oranges. And the price of both is same in each country, in the respective countries. Then if the demand for apples and oranges is equal in both the countries, then what would be the exchange rate?
If they are producing the same number of apples and oranges, it should be the same.
Same, yeah.
One apple, you give me one apple, I'll give you one orange, right?
Should be that, but that is not what happens.
We are talking of very
Really.
specific initial scenario.
Yeah.
Now, for some reason, people find that apples are better than oranges. So the guys who are producing oranges, they say that we want to eat more apples and we don't want to eat so many oranges. Then what will happen?
Then oranges will become cheaper because they'll want to sell more oranges, and apples will become more costlier because demand to one country may be same hai and other country is demanding more apples now. And
So
hence
now you
the
have to
price
give,
goes up.
so you may have to give 10 oranges for 9 apples or something like that, right?
Something like that, yes.
So same thing happens with the currencies also. When I explained this to a friend of mine during my MBA days, he was laughing at me, saying, "No, it is not that simple," and all that. Then one guy from Citibank came for a presentation, a guest lecture, and he started by saying, "Think of currencies as apples and oranges." Then he said, "Okay, you are right." So it is simplistic, but this is how it works. Okay. So same thing happens in the currency market. Demand for dollar is high. Why?
Trump is coming in. People are saying that Trump is, yeah, what Singha said basically. Trump is going to impose higher taxes on multiple imports, especially from China. And
But
hence people are very much bullish on US dollar that it is going to perform better.
in general, why is dollar more expensive than most currencies?
It is universally accepted by most companies, most countries.
Most of the international transactions are dollar denominated. That's why it is considered to be a more stable currency, so people are comfortable dealing in it, right? That is one of the reasons why the euro came in, right? Why was
Yes.
there a need for euro?
They were trying to get a stable currency wherein people trade in their own currency so that its value increases.
Yeah, they were trying to have a currency in Europe so that their currency would be better off and the dependence on dollars would be less. And you know how much time it took for the euro to be actually coming into the picture since the concept started? Take a guess.
40-50 years, I guess.
It is around 25 years. They started the discussions in around 1960, and euro came in around 1988 or 90, something like that. It took almost 25 years because there are a lot of things to be done before you can have a single
Currency listed.
across different countries. So anyway, we are talking of apples, oranges, and dollar demand and all that. So now people again think that dollar will be costlier currency, but that's not the reason actually. I mean, not the reason meaning uh, there will be tariffs. So if there are tariffs, what happens?
Uh,
The price of goods will go higher, and if the price of goods higher goes higher, the people
they
will invest
might
more in buying the product, and hence there'll be more income coming towards the government.
If
uh,
if
they
there are
might import less, like from outside. Like they'll try to, like, the reason they want tariffs primarily is that they can improve their like in-house manufacturing. So the dependency on other countries to import stuff from for US will uh decrease, and so they'll like the it might come to a point where they are importing less and exporting more, which will increase it.
right, so the thing about tariffs is that if suppose let's again take a simple example. Let's say that China or let's say India is exporting shirts to India exports shirts, okay, to US. And let's say the cost of a shirt in India is let's say 100 rupees, right? And the dollar US dollar India rupee parity is at 80 rupees, let's say. Okay. So if I want to sell the shirt to US and I sell it in India at 120, let's say. Okay, my cost in India is 100 rupees, I sell it in India at 120, and I want to export it at let's say 120 only to US. Then how much will I charge them? If the rate of US dollar to Indian rupees 80 rupees, $1.5, right? Hello.
Yeah.
So 80 rupees to a dollar and 120 rupees the price of my shirt, selling price. So I'll charge $1.50 from the US for this shirt, right?
Yes.
Now I have a limited capacity of producing shirts in India, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yes,
increase the
sir.
capacity immediately, right? So if some of those shirts start going outside India, then what happens to the price of the shirt in India?
Increases.
It increases. So let's say it becomes 130 rupees. Okay.
Hmm.
So I'll quote something more than 1.5 now. Would you agree,
Yes.
right? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So suppose what shirts I was selling to US, US was importing from China as well. Okay. Now because in my country the price of shirts has gone down and US has stopped importing from China, so the price of shirts in China will go down, isn't it? What
Yes,
I
sir.
said, what I said is China was selling to US, let's say, shirts at a cheaper rate than India. But then India started selling at a cheaper rate to US. So Chinese imports to US were restricted. So now China has an overcapacity within China. So
Yes.
the price of shirts in China will go down when India starts exporting to US.
Yes.
So subsequently, China will price its shirts lesser, and India has started pricing it more because there is less supply in India.
Yes.
So again, US will start giving orders to China.
Yeah.
Indians will also start giving orders to China.
India might also start giving orders to China. So there will be multiple things playing at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Like when Trump is increasing the tariff, it means what? That exports will be restricted. Imports to US will be restricted, right? Because
Huh.
they become untenable. Right?
Huh.
Yeah.
So why should the US dollar rise because of that?
By what I understand, because they're not sending out their money to another country and they're basically going to use that money in their country itself, which was why the price of the dollar, it would help in improving their own economy, sort of along the lines of the Atmanirbhar Bharat that Narendra Modi tried.
The second part is the relevant part, that if US starts importing less from other countries, then their own economy will start producing those things. So their own economy will grow, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Once the economy grows, then it becomes more stable. Then the currency also starts getting stronger.
Understood.
So when you are asked a question on these lines, you don't have a direct answer because there are
Hmm.
multiple layers to the answer.
Hmm.
These fluctuations in demand supply, fluctuation in the exchange rate, fluctuation in the economic condition of a country, all these add up, and then you have what we generally know as business cycles and stuff like that. So these things keep on changing.
Okay.
Okay, but you are not expected to know in detail. That's why this kind of simplistic thing, if you know and if you're able to explain it in the interview, especially for non-finance people, that shows that you understand economics.
Okay.
Okay.
So I read today that RBI has legalized deposits in foreign banks in rupees. So how is that supposed to affect the value of rupee? It said that it would actually increase the value, but I didn't understand how.
I think it will depreciate INR more because ultimately you're offloading INR to other countries and you're storing it in other currency, and hence I believe that the amount of INR present in India will be reducing, which will again
Now
lead
what
to.
you can deposit?
As in, if you can deposit money in rupees in foreign banks, like not in India. Like you go abroad and you deposit money in rupees over there, which can be used for transactions later. That's what I read in the newspaper. Like at least that's what I made sense of in the newspaper today.
See that this is a technical thing. If it happens, then it will depend again on how much money people are willing to deposit and keep in rupees. Okay.
Hmm.
So the other thing here is that more people will keep their money in rupees instead of in dollars or in pounds or whatever. So that will create a demand for the rupee and make it stronger.
Okay.
A currency being strong or weak depends on what is the acceptance worldwide of that currency and how is the economy of that country. If the economy of a country is good,
Hmm.
that country's currency is more acceptable because it is supposed to be stable or the currency will go up compared to other currencies in the international market.
Okay.
Sir, I have a doubt. How will this work? I think for this thing to work, they'll probably convert the INR into whatever currency the person is storing it into a bank. So ultimately, shouldn't it be that कि INR का value कम हो रहा है?
नहीं अभी वो हो रहा है ना, अभी तो INR को आप दूसरे करेंसी में कन्वर्ट करके रखते हो.
हाँ.
अभी बोल रहे हैं कि INR ही रख सकते हो.
सर मतलब INR रखने के लिए तो bank should have permissions from the government itself for that to work out, right? Then there should be something of a huge
There has to be a
scale
bilateral agreement on that.
wherein Indian government is collating with other governments ki you allow INR to be stored in your banks.
एग्जैक्टली तो अभी कौन अलाउ करेगा उस पर
Yeah.
डिपेंड करेगा, कौन रखना चाहेगा उस
हाँ
पर भी
हाँ
डिपेंड करेगा।
हम्म
अभी अगर डॉलर का इन्फ्लेशन रेट है 3.5% पर एनम हिस्टोरिकली कंपेयर
हम्म
तो everybody will look at if I am getting 5% on US dollar and if I am getting 8% on Indian rupee, I'd probably keep the
people will
money.
invest in Indian
Sorry,
yeah people will invest in Indian rupee.
people invest in Indian rupee because there's still a नहीं क्यों करेगा, जो डॉलर में रखेगा ना उसका 3.5% अप्रिसिएशन है।
नहीं आपने क्या बोला 3.5% फॉर डॉलर एंड 8% फॉर INR राइट?
नहीं डॉलर यूपी के अगेंस्ट अप्रिशिएट होता है 3.5%।
अच्छा ओके हाँ हाँ
और डॉलर डिपॉजिट पे तुमको 5% मिल रहा है,
हाँ हाँ
इंडियन डिपॉजिट रुपी में 8% मिल रहा है।
हम्म
तो अगर रिकन्वर्ट करोगे डॉलर में, इंडिया में पहले डाला पैसा, जस्ट टेक एन एग्जांपल, 1 लाख डॉलर का एक घर खरीदा इंडिया में, ठीक है, 80 रुपीज के हिसाब से पैसा लगा दिया, तो 80 लाख रुपीज यू इन्वेस्टेड, 5 साल बाद दैट प्रॉपर्टी इज वर्थ 120 लाख, लेट्स से 80 लाख की जगह 120 लाख रुपीज, लेकिन डॉलर हो गया 100 रुपीज पर डॉलर, तो तुमको कितना मिलेगा?
120 के
120 के, तो तुम्हारा तो 5 साल में 20% ही मिला ना तुमको रिटर्न।
हाँ हाँ
लेकिन अगर डॉलर का रेट 5% है तो तुमको 5 साल में 25% रिटर्न मिलता है दूसरी जगह यूएस में।
हाँ 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 हाँ
तो इस तरह से लोग देखेंगे कि व्हाट इज द एक्सपेक्टेशन ऑन रुपी, हाउ स्टेबल विल इट बी। बट जनरली व्हाट हैपेंस इज व्हेन यू हैव दिस फैसिलिटीज, then people start thinking at least that okay, let me keep my money in rupees, so the overall emotional confidence may increase.
Okay.
But the financial market is a very flimsy market. People can easily switch, so it becomes very risky also, that you are suddenly on loads of money and then one fine day you find that everybody has started, because of some rumor, nobody believes in your currency, and then everybody starts converting it, so then your whole economy may collapse. So that has to be balanced out very properly. Like you would have been reading sometime na, that RBI is asking banks to go slow on personal loans or go slow on housing loans. So what happens is that the bank starts selling some loan very aggressively. For 1 or 2 years they do it, and every bank is doing that. So their whole portfolio becomes lopsided. 30-40% of the portfolio is in car loans or home loans or education loans. Then it becomes risky for the whole
bank and nation as well.
Yeah, because when they will start, see what happens is this leads to an inflation, an artificial inflation in that particular asset. What happened in 2008? Are you aware of that?
No.
This was one of the biggest collapses of the financial system in 1939. What was happening was banks were giving loans to buy homes to people who could not afford to pay the EMI. So why was that happening? Because the banks themselves created an artificial inflation in the property prices. So let's say somebody can buy a house worth 50 lakh rupees and he can pay you your installment of 50,000 per month, let's say. So the bank has given him a loan of 50 lakh rupees. What bank started doing was that they started asking the people to go for 60 lakhs or 70 lakhs loans and we'll give you that loan. But this guy is not able to pay 60, 70 lakh loan because pay 60,000 or 70,000 as given. When the bank gave too many people such loans, then the property prices in those areas started going up very high, very fast. So suppose I bought a 60 lakh property today, after 1 year it becomes worth 80 lakhs. So even if I haven't paid my EMI, I am able to sell that house, pay back the loan to the bank, and I still have some money left. Then the bank says, okay, he has cleared his account. Now I can give him 1 crore rupees. So like that, they started building up a big balloon, where people are not able to earn the EMI, but they were making money because of artificial inflation in the pricing of the houses. But that bubble had to burst. No, all these artificial bubbles have to burst sometime or the other. 2008.
Sir, is this related to Harshal Mehta by any chance?
No, Harshad Mehta scam was in 1992.
1992, yeah, my bad. Yeah.
That was 16 years before. And
Yeah.
in 2000 also there was a stock market scam in India. I think 2000 probably. Ketan Pare.
Ketan Pare, yeah.
So
Heavy scam that was.
there have been many scams like that. Maybe we'll keep that for another class. Harshad Mehta, Ketan Parekh, then there was a CR Bhansali scam.
I don't believe those are scams. Those were proper manipulation of laws. That's it.
That's why they are scams. All of them were, they were not even manipulation of law. They were actually bypassing the law. They were not
Yeah.
following the, they would have followed, the scam wouldn't have happened. But some few people who did not follow the norms, and so they kept giving money to these guys. See, at the end of it, it's all about greed, okay? I'll just give you one small example. There was an FD scam also. It still goes on maybe. You have heard of fixed deposit, right?
Yeah.
All of you have heard of fixed deposit, right? What is it?
It's basically the interest you get over time for keeping your money in the bank.
In the bank, right?
For a fixed.
So fixed
Yeah.
deposit, I give 1 lakh rupees to the bank and I'm getting 10% interest. I'll get 10,000 rupees plus 1 lakh rupees after 1 year, right?
Yes.
So lot of finance companies, they started coming out with their fixed deposit schemes. Okay. So there's XYZ finance company. Now all these XYZ, they come under the purview of Reserve Bank of India. Okay. So Reserve Bank of India said that this way, so anybody can take any money from the public and then not return it, because public will not know which is a good company, which is not. So they started rating the instruments and stuff like that. But apart from rating, RBI put a maximum limit of, let's say, 1.5% of the deposit amount can be paid as marketing charges or brokerage or whatever you call it, out of pocket expenses. Because to get the fixed deposit, I have to do some marketing, I have to appoint agents, I have to give them commission and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
So RBI said that, okay, if you are going to have fixed deposits, you get them rated, and there's different categories of rating given by different agencies, so that the investor knows that how risky it is to invest in that particular company's fixed deposit. And apart from that, RBI said that, okay, if you are taking 1 lakh anyone, the maximum amount you can spend for garnering that deposit in terms of brokerages and marketing expenses and stuff like that will be 1.5%. So for 1 lakh rupees, 1,500. Now there were lot of companies which were paying 4 to 5% upfront incentive to the depositor himself, which means if I am going and depositing 1 lakh rupees in that company's fixed deposit, I am straight away getting 5,000 rupees upfront, which is absolutely illegal. Now that it is illegal is fine, but the funniest part is that most of the financial intermediaries, they are nearby the RBI offices. In any city you go, you find RBI office and different banks headquarters and stuff, and then brokers are sitting and all that. On the wall of the RBI itself, there were posters that ABC company is giving 5% upfront incentive for fixed deposit, and RBI was not saying anything to any of these companies. The brokers are having their offices within 500 meters vicinity of RBI, which RBI says that you cannot pay more than 1.5%, and they are paying 5% upfront. So these kind of scams are bound to happen. So people get greedy. Then they are getting for 1 lakh rupees, I'm getting 5,000 rupees upfront. So I'm investing only 95,000, and I'll break that deposit after 6 months. I won't even keep it for 1 year. So I'll get my interest for 6 months. I'll again reinvest it after 6 months, again get 5,000 rupees. All these things were happening, and everybody kept their eyes shut. And finally, a lot of the companies vanished with your money. So that was a big scam. Everybody knows about it. Nobody does anything about it. All scams are there because regulatory authorities keep their eyes shut. Nothing more than that. And people are greedy. The root cause is because people are greedy. So they think that they can go on doing this. So they end up losing all their money.
So what happened in 2008 after that? They did that artificial inflation thing. Then how did the whole market crash ultimately?
The whole market crashed because it's a pen. Okay.
Huh? Sorry, your voice broke.
Think of a house property as a pen. Let's say.
Hmm.
Okay. So the pen costs 2 rupees.
Hmm.
Don't have 2 rupees, you go to the bank and you say, I want to buy this pen, so give me 2 rupees. Bank says, okay, I'll give you 2 rupees. So bank gives you 2 rupees.
Hmm.
Now artificially they created a demand for this pen so that the price is now 3 rupees.
Hmm.
So you sold it.
Hmm.
You sold it for 2 rupees, gave back 2 rupees to the bank, plus the interest on it, you're still left with some money. Right?
Huh. Huh.
It's not happening for 4, 5, 6 years. Because the
Huh.
bubble doesn't immediately.
Hmm.
At the end of it, what happens is that the balloon gets so big that it bursts when you are not even able to sell. Well, everybody is doing the same thing. So who's going to buy your property?
Oh. Huh.
Anna, there is a limit. No, you have heard of Ponzi scam, right?
Yeah.
What is Ponzi scam?
I've only heard of it. I don't know what it is.
Ponzi scam works like this. You give me, you are my, let's say, channel partner, sort of. Okay.
Okay.
You will get 4 more people to give 1,000 rupees each. Okay.
Oh, like a pyramid scheme.
Pyramid scheme, exactly.
Okay, yeah, that I know.
So initially, when you get into a pyramid scheme, it works, right? But after 1 or 2
Yeah.
years, everybody is in the scheme, so nobody can get new members. Then it starts disintegrating.
Understood.
So what happens in any scam is at some point of time when the bubble gets too big, it just bursts. So in 2008 also the bubble burst. Banks started losing all their money. Banks were not getting back the money because the properties were not being sold now. If the properties are
Oh.
not being sold, the bank will not get the EMI or the loan or the interest on it.
Sir, is that what the Great Recession was? Like, what exactly is referred to as a Great Recession?
That was 1929. Similar thing had happened then. The banks were lending money without checking the credentials, just to create an artificial demand.
Okay.
So that is the culmination of that practice.
Okay.
Now, what is more surprising in 2008 when all these things happened? Now
Hmm.
there were a lot of whistleblowers.
Okay.
If you will try to search on the net, you'll find it that there are a lot of people who had written to the government before the scam, after the scam, and they gave testimonies against people who were doing it and who won millions, who got millions of dollars as incentives for giving these bad loans.
Oh.
There
Sir,
were
why
lot of
don't people just stick to gold then? Say, for an example, me, I have, say, example, 1 crore rupees in my account, rather than holding it in any currency, US dollar or rupee or anything. Why don't just people have, say, a virtual gold may money? There is virtual gold concept coming worldwide right now. There are
the same thing,
places,
na.
apps.
It's the same thing. Gold has never given disproportionate returns. All these returns that we're talking about are disproportionate and to an extent illegitimate returns, right?
Yeah,
So people are
Hmm.
basically we are betting on money which is not present in the
which
system
is,
itself,
which is risky also.
which is risky
Hmm.
also. Yeah,
So if you will buy gold, it may appreciate to a large extent, but it will take a long period of time. You have to be invested for 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, then you get the return. You're not sure of the returns within a year or two.
I'm not at all even concerned about the returns. Say example, say INR is nothing but gold. For an example, I'm pegging INR to gold.
Hmm.
So it will be stable, right? It will be 90 today when with respect to USD. It will be 90 tomorrow with respect to USD. It will not be going down at least, right? So that way, it is good to just hold in gold, right?
But people are greedy, na? That's the thing. The whole point of the whole
People agree. Yeah,
the, you cannot blame the scamster always, because for each scamster there are millions of people who are hoodwinked, who are greedy.
yeah,
It's not that
true,
everybody invested in the stock. It's not that everybody bought those FDs. It's not that everybody bought those inflated property.
true that.
But mostly people do that now. See, the
Hmm.
story of the
Uh,
2008 scam doesn't end there. No, there were whistleblowers who had warned that this is going to happen, this is happening, and lot of company executives made loads of money in millions of dollars through incentives, especially the CEOs of those banks and the division heads and people like that. And see, that money doesn't go to them only, na? It goes everywhere. It goes to everybody who's in power. So everybody keeps quiet, because otherwise they will be also impacted. And
Hmm.
nothing happened. 16 years now, many people lost their life savings, but nothing happened to those scamsters. It should have happened. Nothing happened, and nothing happened. That's the sad part. There were there were some stories of one insurance company being attacked by people, and some executives of that company being attacked, but then they were safe. There are also other very sad and very interesting stories. Like during that time, 2008-9, when the whole economy sort of crumbled everywhere across the world, India was a little more insulated, because India had not yet sort of aligned with the world economy to that extent. So India was less impacted. Indian banks were also not impacted to that extent. But the big car companies, they were impacted, right? So they talked about job cuts, salary cuts, this, that, everything. And then in the uh, most like biggest capitalized country of the world, they were talking of getting government doles. Okay, America is the biggest capitalist economy, right? But when these things happen, then the corporates started asking the government for doles and exemption and this and that. So that is also fine, that you have to give employment to people. Otherwise, there will be a revolution. If people don't get money to eat, there will be a revolution. So the government has to listen to these guys. What is most interesting is that three chief executives of three different auto companies, going from the same city to Washington, went in three different personal jets to ask for a bailout. Are you getting the point? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So that's how the world works, and we will have to accept many of these things as we get to know about these things and what all has happened earlier and what all is going to happen in the future also. Okay.
So there's this thing that I was reading about how China has invested in America. So, how is America still at a stronger standpoint if China is an investor in it? Like they bought some US bonds or something, it was written over there.
I don't know about bonds. I'm not yet clear or sure about bonds, but China has been buying a lot of property in US. Uh, there is a book by Lee Iacocca. Huh? It's pretty old. It is written sometime in
Yeah.
the 1980s. Huh? It's called Talking Straight. Talking Straight by Lee Iacocca. Lee Iacocca was a very senior executive of Ford Motor, and he left it and joined Chrysler, which was a loss-making company, and then he turned it around. So he had written in that book that in those times only, 1980s, China had bought a lot of properties in US. Uh, I think it was Japan, not China. A lot of Japanese companies had bought a lot of properties in US, and many US government offices were in those buildings, and they were paying rent to the Japanese. So at that time, he was saying that Japan is going to overtake US and stuff like that. Similar to what we are saying today, that China has maybe been buying US government bonds. So if the US government pays back the money that is invested by China, then there is no issue. No, the issue will be when they are not able to pay them. That's when the problem will start. But at
Oh,
the end of it, it's about military power more than anything else.
okay.
So one professor of IIT Kharagpur was telling to me during the railway journey was that US is US because it is able to attract the best talent from all over the world. Best talent
Hmm.
from all over the world goes to US to study, and they make it great. And since US is able to assimilate that, that's why it is great. Similar to something in ancient India, when Nalanda and all universities were there, and scholars from around the world used to come to India because India was at that time at the peak of economic power, as we hear it, must be true only.
Hmm.
So wherever you have intellectual capital, those places grow the most and are the
Oh,
most prosperous.
Elon
okay.
Musk also said something similar recently. He was like, America runs on visas which are given to top-notch individuals from other countries. His company runs on visas given to citizens of
But
other countries.
there was a big backlash on that statement. Then he had to retract it.
But he said that it was true and hence he put it out.
We understand that it is true, but then it goes against public sentiment.
Yeah.
With all due respect, it's the same case with West Bengal. Bengal had the best industries, the biggest industries, most capital, flourishing trade and commerce, and most of the people used to come here to work, from different parts of India, even at officer and management level. But then, when the locals react in a negative way, when they start feeling threatened, when the balance is again, balance is sort of toppled, then
Hmm.
back to old times, go back to uh, being a lesser power and stuff like that.
He also has to take office within a few days. So yeah, he has to take no risk.
What else? I think all of you just go over this session once and take down some notes. Those might help you a little bit. At least it will give you some perspective, as to what is the size of the Indian economy, not the world economy, but at least the Indian economy, what kind of infrastructure and stuff we are talking about. Comparatively, when you are, see, there are many companies, I won't, not many, but there are companies whose turnover is more than the GDP of India, right? So if you are a senior in a senior management role in those kind of companies, then obviously you have much more power than any minister or politician in India. You may be having much more power than them. But otherwise, the bureaucrats and the government sector and the politicians, uh, they wield much more power financially as well as otherwise than we can ever imagine in the management world. Any questions on whatever we discussed today? So tomorrow we'll continue with one more group interview, especially those who have an history then interview, please try to attend. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Good night.